So today we're going to dive into a pretty wild paradox. It's all about the psychology of being the strong one. You know, that person everyone leans on, who can handle absolutely anything but just can't seem to ask for help themselves. Just think about that for a second. Are you the first call your friends make when there's a crisis? The one who manages everything for your family? But when you're the one who's completely overwhelmed, the words, "I need help," they just get stuck in your throat. If any of that is ringing a bell, well, you're in the right place. And here's the big twist, the thing that changes everything. What you probably think of as just a part of your personality, that intense, fierce independence, it's very likely not that at all. It's actually a super effective, deeply wired survival skill that your brain cooked up a long time ago.
To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to rewind. We have to go back to the beginning, because the blueprint for this whole way of being is almost always drafted when we're kids, based on the kind of home we grew up in.
So picture this. If you grew up in a house where things were kind of stressful or tense, you might have subconsciously picked up on a really powerful lesson. The best way to keep things calm was to be the easy child. You learned not to add any more fuel to the fire, which a lot of the time meant learning to pretend you didn't have any needs at all. What's so fascinating here is that there are these two common paths that can lead to the exact same place. On one side, you have the easy child, right? Their whole goal is to avoid being a burden. But on the other side, you've got the secondary child, the one who felt like they were never the priority, so they learned they had to earn their spot by being incredibly helpful. See the connection? Both roles teach you to push your own needs way down. And all of this starts to bake in this really painful core belief that love isn't a given, that it's conditional, that your value is tied to how useful you are, and that people only want you in their lives as long as you're no trouble. So, of course, your brain does some pretty logical math to protect you. If asking for help could lead to getting rejected or let down or being seen as a problem, then it's just not safe to ask. It becomes so much easier and a whole lot safer to just handle it all yourself.
But let's be super clear here. This isn't all bad news, not at all. This survival mechanism, it also forges some truly incredible strengths. It kind of gives you this hidden superpower.
And you can see those strengths right here. You get this stress inoculation. It's like you've been emotionally vaccinated against chaos. When things get tough, you're the calm one. Your sense of control, your validation, it comes from the inside. You don't need anyone else's applause. That builds this quiet, deep self-trust and a kind of freedom, really, to move through the world on your own terms. But here's the catch. And there's always a catch, right? The very same skill that kept you safe as a kid can turn into a wall that isolates you as an adult. Let's look at how that actually works. Okay, so remember that skill we were talking about? That emotional radar you perfected as a child, where you could walk into a room and just feel the tension? Well, as a grown-up, that radar is still on. It's always scanning, always running in the background. And this leads to an internal conversation that happens in like a split second. You notice someone else seems a little stressed or tired. You instantly decide, oh, they don't have the space for my problems on top of their own. So you say nothing. You just bury your own needs to keep the peace. And you tell everyone, and yourself, I'm fine. But the price you pay for constantly being fine, oh, it's massive. It leads to this bone-deep emotional exhaustion. And worse, this painful, lonely feeling of being totally unseen, even by the people you're closest to. They can't see the real you because you've never shown them. So if you're listening to this and nodding along, thinking, yep, that's me, you're probably wondering where to even start. And the great news is, the first step isn't about some huge, drastic change in your behavior. It's actually much simpler than that. It all begins with this idea called metacognition. It sounds like a big, fancy, scientific word, but honestly, all it means is the simple habit of thinking about what you're thinking. Just starting to notice that automatic script that plays in your head. So instead of just automatically accepting that feeling, you can start to challenge it. The next time you stop yourself from asking for something, just pause for a second. And ask yourself, is this feeling I'm having really true right now? Or is this just my brain running that old protective software that maybe I just don't need anymore? And that's the absolute key right there. Real change doesn't start with forcing yourself to do something different tomorrow. It starts with the simple act of noticing, just watching the pattern play out, without judging yourself for it. That awareness, that's where all your power is. That's what eventually gives you the choice to do something different. And I really want to leave you with this final idea. The goal here isn't to become a person who has no needs. True strength and real healing is about building a life where you finally feel safe enough to admit that you do.